So glad to have you. Happy Wealth Wednesday. Excited to profile and share everything that you've been doing and working on with Nav.it.
Thank you for having me, Alana. It's always a pleasure, and I'm so grateful that Chelsea connected us.
Absolutely. To get us started, I'd love to just hear your story. How and why did you get into this space?
I started my career in behavioral science, really in sub-Saharan Africa. I ran some safaris for probably 9 months, and then I jumped over to health and education. And you could really tell that, the minute you educated and created better health access for women, your overall societal impact was astronomical. 90% of their income would go back into their communities. I realized when I came back, their core problem was financial stress. Their core issue was feeding themselves and their children. If you gave them a little bit of access to, cash-based systems, and immediately their financial health increased and their resilience increased. So now I'm in my early 30s. I have a son. The stories I'm hearing from my friends that are diverse, upper middle class people, especially women, are the same underlying core issue of financial stress and anxiety. In the African context, of course, there's just very little resources. Here we have this plethora of resources, but they're so complicated, and the downfalls are so incredible with debt and bankruptcy and student loans. This core issue of the psychology around money, the financial stress that is created when we don't understand the system and we don't have good solutions to help us personally navigate them on our own terms, I became very passionate trying to solve that.
What do you see your role in the wealth space?
I see my role as being that bridge between psychological health, cognitive health, mental health, and financial health. Spend less than you earn, have an emergency fund, pay off high interest debt. But that is still remains academic. It's still really based on numbers and analytics and this boxy framework that says, well, if you do this, you'll win. And it doesn't take into account that there's so many human factors that go into how you engage with all of those different points. That women tend to be in lower paying careers. So there's a different conversation about what you can save at the end of the month. We have things that cost more money, not just because we like to spend, but because we literally have things that we have to spend on. Then you have external factors. You have your family stories, you have your emotions, you have your values, and then you have your external, like your husband and partners and the people in your life that all affect the way you make decisions around money. And that, I think our innovation is really taking those psychological elements, talking about emotions and triggers, talking about your habits, and marrying those to financial decisions and kind of the basics of how you manage money.
What do you think has been the most exciting thing that you've learned, and why?
Women are really good at managing money. It was not part of our narrative. Women did not have access to their own money or own property, really. Women couldn't get access to credit without a man signing up until 1974. We actually do really well when we do invest and when we do look at our budgets. We tend to spend less than we earn. We tend to invest and stay and not play the market in the same way and lose money. And our narrative is maybe more conservative, but it is risk-taking. And we do understand what legacy wealth and growing wealth for the next generation means. So I think it's inspiring. I've been just inspired to meet so many amazing women.
Is there a person or a company that inspires you in this space?
The Financial Health Network, Jen Tesher has been the head of that. And they are the ones in the banking world that have really advocated and created a narrative around financial health and what that means actually, and giving measurable metrics. The CFPB also has some financial health. Jen Melford was a part of kind of building out what is financial resilience, what's financial well-being, self-efficacy, like how do we start to integrate these things?
And what advice would you give to somebody getting started?
Identify what your money mindset is, your personality, your values, your beliefs, your needs. Talk about your habits and think about what your history was. And at that starting point, you can then start to reframe and think about the things you want to shift. Because once you get your mind right, the money will come. You'll figure out what compound interest is. You'll figure out how to navigate high yield savings account. You'll find groups like yours, but you got to get your mind right. You have to understand what your drivers are and what your triggers are so that when they come up, you can mitigate them.
And is there anything else that we should know or that you want to share?
I do feel inspired to say that we are the first generation. So it is incumbent on us to pay attention and to be leaders in this. Even if we feel, insecure and uncomfortable or think we're not doing it right, you are a leader. Next generations will definitely follow suit and we're paving a way for them. So be proud of yourselves and be confident that you can do this.
Thank you so much. I'm proud of you. I'm grateful to know you. And I think we're all better together in this. So this is fantastic.
Really.
Talk to you soon.